Cognizant to the needs of our learners, parents, and teachers, the Department of Education provided us with powerful tools for productivity that will allow us to foster critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, communication and collaboration skills to be compassionate, responsible global citizens. Join us and discover new ideas in our series of professional development training program with the ICTS Edtech Unit and Microsoft Education Philippines. Together, we will equip our learners and empower our fellow educators for a dynamic future. Para sa bata, para sa bayan, at para sa guro. Sulong Edukalidad.
Magandang araw, Sir Wilbur po, at your service. Narito ang ETUlay upang gabayan ka sa inyong pag-aaral upang lubos na maunawaan ang iba't ibang paksa o subject. Ang ETUlay ay isang free online tutorial class na pinangungunahan ng ICTS Educational Technology Unit sa pamumuno ni Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua. Ang programang ito ay hindi lamang para sa mga bata, kundi ito rin ay magsisilbing gabay sa mga magulang at mga guro kung paano nila ituturo o gagabayan sa bawat asignatura ang kanilang mga anak o mga estudyante. Sa kasalukuyan, ang self-learning module mula sa rehiyon ng Calabarzon at kilala sa tawag na pivot ang ginagamit sa ating ETUlay online class. Kaya ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Ihanda na ang inyong mga ballpen o lapis, papel o kwaderno at samahan kaming itulay ang pagkatuto para sa bawat batang Pilipino. Sama-sama tayong magtutulungan para malampasan ang mga hamon sa panahong ito. Halina't matuto kasama ang inyong online tutor sa oras na ito.
Ayan, so magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Nandito na naman po tayo sa ating 4 o'clock habit ng ating ETUlay online tutorial. At ito ay ang ating online tutorial para sa Senior High School Practical Research 2. Okay? Muli magsasama-sama tayo sa loob ng 40 minuto or hanggang 60 minuto or maaring less than 40 minutes. So, ito po ang inyong tutor para sa oras na ito, Tutor Ronald. At sa linggong ito, tayo ay nasa Week 1 ng ating 4th quarter. Ayan, 4th quarter na tayo. Huling quarter ng ating very challenging na school year. Ganun pa man, kahit na ito ay napaka-challenging, nagawa natin ang paraan upang maitulay ang ating pagkatuto at ang ating school year sa pamamagitan ng iba't ibang platforms sa tulad ng ating online tutorial. Meron din tayong DepEd TV, of course, iba pang platforms online like sa YouTube, no? So ito ay ginagawa ng ating departamento ng Edukasyon para matulungan ang hindi lamang ating mga learners, pati na rin syempre ang ating mga kaguruan at syempre ang ating mga magulang na siyang nagiging or siyang guro sa mga panahon nito sa ating mga tahanan. So muli magandang hapon po at ang ating pong tatalakayin para sa linggong ito, ang first lesson ng 4th quarter ay ang Quantitative Research Design. So para magabayan tayo sa ating lesson sa araw na ito, narito ang ating objective na siyang ating bibigyan ng pansin at tuon na upang ating ma-achieve no? Para sa ating talakayan sa oras at sa araw na ito. At ang objective na ito mula sa ating MELC or Most Essential Learning Competencies para sa Week 1 ay chooses appropriate quantitative research design. So, ibig sabihin, sa dami ng or sa iba't ibang quantitative research design, matutulungan tayong pumili ng tamang research design para sa ating research paper or research project, no? And bago tayo magpatuloy ng ating talakayan, siyempre balikan muna natin ang ating pinag-aralan noong nakaraang linggo, no? Kahit na ito ay bahagi ng third quarter, siyempre bahagi ito ng inyong research paper sa kabuuan. Kumbaga, pinagpatuloy lang ngayon ang iba pang bahagi ng inyong research sa quarter 4, ngayong quarter 4. So, sige nga, balikan natin ang ating pinag-aralan sa pamamagitan ng first learning task. Sige nga, sa mga sumubaybay nung nakarang linggo, napakadali lang nito. Ngunit sa mga hindi nakasubaybay, ngunit napag-aralan marahil ang lesson natin last week sa kanilang module ay masasagutan din nila ito. So, ang gagawin lang ay to determine the possible sources of literature review from the list below. So, meron tayong 10 possible sources of literature review, and you'll just determine if it is a possible source or not. So, sa inyo pong comment box or chat box, i-type lang ang S if you think the possible source is if the source is a possible source of literature review, or NS if not. Okay, like for example, number 1, books. It is, what do you think? Sige, pakita muna natin ang number 1. So, number 1, books is or are possible sources of literature. Meaning, maaari ka makakuha ng impormasyon o ideya mula sa mga libro dahil kung ano man ang mga impormasyon or idea nasa libro ay dumaan sa masusing pagsusuri at analysis, kaya ito ay masasabi natin na accurate, no? Accurate at factual. Okay? Kumbaga, dumaan ito sa quality assurance. Kaya ito ay maaaring possible source of literature review. So, number 2, ano kaya? Ang dreams, panaginip. Ito ba ay possible source of literature review? I mean, maaari nyo bang gamitin ang anumang mga napanaginipan ninyo para sa inyong research? Maaari nga ba? Tingnan nga natin kung meron ang sumagot. Ayan, meron ang sumagot. Magandang hapon po sa ating mga nakatutok sa mga oras na ito. Si Edelbert Reyes. Ayan, good afternoon. Silvano, Ann, Michelle. Shape, I'm sorry. Medyo mahirap. Agilion ang kanyang apelyido marahil. Jojan Pasis, good afternoon. From Dagupan City, Shell Ferrer. Ayan, so meron sumagot sa number 2, NS daw, of course, not a possible source. Kasi nga, dreams, parang part lang yan siya ng subconscious natin. Hindi siya talaga, kumbaga, ano bang tawag ito? Hindi siya maaring maging possible source para sa ating literature review. Thoughts? Number 3, ano kaya ang sagot? Ito ba ay possible source or S or not a possible source or NS? Ayan, shout out. Oh, si Sir Joel Kudiamat. Parang familiar ang kanyang name. Ewan ko lang kung last week ba siya nanood or um, last week. So, ang number 3 natin ay NS. Siyempre, thoughts meaning random thoughts, no? Yung mga kung ano lang yung naiisip natin. So, hindi siya maaari maging possible source of research. How about number 4? Newspapers. Maaari ba siyang maging source ng ating literature review? Ibig sabihin, ang impormasyon at ideya na makukuha natin sa newspaper ay pwede ba nating isama sa ating review of related literature? Ayan, according to Sheila Robles, S daw or possible source. Ngayon din kay Shay, Elethea Aguilon, S. So yes, possible source din ang newspapers, no? Kasi ang information at like ang balita or opinion editorial, dumanda yan sa anong tawag nito? Quality assurance, no? Or editing, kumbaga editing ng mga editors ng newspapers. So possible sources. So ibig sabihin the ideas and information are reliable if they come from a newspaper. But of course, piliin din yung newspaper na, credible din. I mean, marami kasing newspapers na naglalabasan sa, yung iba kasi, minsan, hindi totoo, no? Yung mga yung ibang tinatawag natin fake news, lalo na sa mga online newspapers, no? Sa mga online newspapers. So, make sure na credible ang newspaper na pagkukunan nyo ng impormasyon. Mga national dailies, no? Yan, possible source. So, number 5 naman ay journals. Of course, ito very common to na possible source of related literature. In fact, ang mga researchers na medyo matagal-tagal na ay journals ang kanilang pinaka number 1 choice sa kanilang possible source for related literature review or minsan yun yung una nilang kinoconsult or tinitingnan ang journals. How about mental pictures? Number 6. Meaning yung mga mental images na lalo na kung nag-i-imagine tayo, ginugutom, di ba? Nag-i-imagine tayo ng masarap na pagkain. So, these are examples of mental pictures. Maaari ba siyang maging possible source? Ayan, according to Jesselyn Sebastian Leonardo, good afternoon, NS or not source or possible source. And you are correct, Jesselyn. Now, let's go to number 7, diaries. Ayan, diaries. Maaari ba siyang maging possible source? Lalo na kung ang diary ay may kinalaman sa kinalaman sa research mo, no? Ang pinakakilalang diary sa buong mundo kung na-research nyo or just an additional information ay the Diary of Anne Frank. If you are familiar with that. The Diary of Anne Frank during the Holocaust, no? Nung panahon ni Hitler, mga Nazis, Anne Frank was one of the Jews who were, part of the Holocaust. So number 7, diaries. NS daw, according to Marilyn. Marilyn. Pwede siyang source actually. Kasi diary is a primary source of information. Kumbaga, very raw data. No? Original na information, original na data. So, maaari siya maging source of information. Yeah. Like yung diary ni Anne Frank, most historical research about the Holocaust, about the Nazis, yung kumuha sila ng information from the diary of Anne Frank. Yun. So, possible source. Textbooks. Yung ginagamit natin sa schools, sa classroom, maaari ba siyang maging source? Of course. Maaari siyang maging source. No? How about circulars? Ayan. Pindot ko na agad. So, S din siya. Of literature review. Yan. Number 10, guardian angel. No, siyempre lahat tayo merong guardian angel. Sige nga, kung ano ang binubulong na inyong guardian angel sa mga oras na ito. Ang number 10 ba ay possible source or S or NS? In relation to sources of literature review, of course. So number 10 is, of course, not a possible source. No? Not a possible source for your literature review. Siyempre, iba naman yung spiritual aspect, no? Kasi kung talagang divine, may divine intervention, maaaring reliable source ang ating guardian angel. No? Siyempre, that's a different story naman ang spiritual realm or spiritual aspect. No? So, sa research, hindi maaaring maging possible source or source ang ating guardian angel. Sige, let's proceed. How about this one? This is our last review of our last discussion or the previous discussion. So there are 4 steps in literature review process. So write the review, select and choose literature, select the topic, and analyze and interpret literature. Now you will arrange these steps, no? Of course, from the first to the step 2 or the second step, third, and the fourth step. What do you think is the first step? Is it write the review, or select and choose literature, or select the topic, or analyze and interpret literature? Sige nga, sino kaya makakasagot sa ating first step in the literature review process? Medyo, ayan, si Ma'am Marilyn Tuquero is from Bulacanon High School, Cotabato Division. Nanonood din sa atin si Cerila Vallejo from Tangub City Division. Si Sir Joel Kudiamat from Apayao Division. Ayan, medyo siguro natatagalan silang mag-type ng sagot. So, ang first step sa ating literature review process is select a topic. No, of course, kaya nga ito ang ating first topic sa ating practical research. Well, not really the first, but first step in the research process in general. So you first select a topic, no? course, after selecting the topic, the next step in the literature review, or kung meron na kayong topic, alam nyo na ang topic, final na yung topic, approved na ni research advisor and by the group, or kung ikaw lang gumagawa ng research, kung decided ka na sa topic mo, ang susunod ay ayan, select and choose literature. So, mag-search ka na ng iba't ibang sources para sa yung literature. So, from so many literatures, you will of course select and choose what is or what are relevant to your research study, no? So, kailangan dito ang critical thinking skills and of course your note-taking skills, di ba? Sa pag-select and para sa pag-select and choose literature. Next, third step is analyze and interpret literature. So, i-analyze mo na yung mga napili mong literature, yung mga information, ideas from different sources, you will analyze and interpret. So again, critical thinking naman, critical thinking skills din ang kailangan sa third step. And sige nga, number 4. Ano kaya ang last? Siyempre, write the review. Yun na lang ang kulang write the review. Yan, write the review. So, isusulat mo na ang literature review, no? Following the guidelines in writing the literature review. And the guidelines, of course, pinag-aralan natin last 2 weeks. So, ayan. Tapos na tayo sa ating review. Now, let's proceed to our focus of our discussion today, which is choosing appropriate quantitative research design. To start writing your research paper, you have to plan the research design of your study. So, ano nga ba ang research design? Ayan, what is it? Sabi nga sa inyong module, what is it? So, ano nga ba ang research design? According to the book, which is my source of information for my presentation today. And again, the book is Practical Research for Senior High School, Book 2, Quantitative by Prieto and Prieto, Naval, and Carey. No? So, according to the book, research design is the overall concept or strategy to put together the components of your study in a logical manner. It ensures that the research problem is appropriately addressed. And the research problem or question shall determine the type of research design you should use. So, ibig sabihin, dahil meron ka ng research questions and research problems, no? Hindi ka na mahihirapan pumili ng research design kasi ang research design mo ay depende sa ano ang research problem and questions ng iyong research study. Okay? Kasi ito ang kailangan ma-address appropriately ng iyong research design, ang iyong research problems and questions. So, importante ang tamang research design kasi nga kailangan mong ma-address din ng tama ang research problem and research questions mo, no? And then you can also review and synthesize the literature of studies that have used the same research design. So, 'di ba, previous natin na discussion about literature review. So, perhaps from the research studies na mababasa nyo, meron kayong makukuhang information about the research design, then that can also help you in choosing and deciding for the research design of your own research study. Now, there are major research three major categories of research design. You know, first is the exploratory research design, then the descriptive research design, and the causal research design. No, EDC kumbaga sa para madaling matandaan. So, exploratory research design, descriptive research design, and causal research design. These are the three major categories of research design. So, let's discuss each one. What is an exploratory research design? It is often used to establish an initial understanding and background information about a research study of interest, often with very few or no earlier related studies found relevant to the research study. So, ibig sabihin, exploratory is the very first research study. No, kumbaga, kung ang inyong topic ay wala kayong makitang related literature, no? Ang gagamitin yung research design is exploratory, no? So, i-explain ninyo that your research is an exploratory research because you have not found any background information, or you have very few or no earlier related studies found relevant to the research study. Medyo mahirap siya pero very fulfilling naman kasi parang gumagawa ka ng research na talagang first of its kind, no, in your field of study, no? So, medyo mahirap, no? Pero worth it naman kung talagang magawa nyo. So, exploratory research design. Kasi karamihan sa research based sa previous studies, no? Wala nang problema doon. As long as, again, the information are original, are really made by the researcher. Next category is descriptive. Descriptive research design, which is often used to gather information on current situations and conditions. It helps provide answers to the questions of who, what, when, where, and the how of a particular research study. No? Parang nagde-describe ka lang, kaya nga descriptive kasi you're describing the who, the what, the where, and the how. Parang descriptive paragraph or descriptive essay. Usually, you're just describing the who, what, when, where, and how. Pero of course, in the descriptive research design, no, you have to provide accurate data and subject them to rigorous procedures using large amounts of data from large amount of samples, no? So kailangan large amount of samples ang ang gamitin sa descriptive research design. Now, according to Hulit and Hungles in, sorry, that should be 1999, no? Hindi yan 199. That's supposedly the year 1999. There are three classifications of descriptive research design. So one is survey research design, which is usually used in securing opinions and trends through the use of questionnaires and interviews. So, meron tayong tinatawag na face-to-face survey. Meron din tayong online surveys, no? Like, for example, sometimes you notice when you open your Facebook, merong survey related to COVID-19, no? So that's part of a research, yung survey na yon na nagpa-pop up sa Facebook natin. So online survey siya, no? To secure opinion. So when you click that pop up, then merong mga questions na lalabas, no? Well, of course, you have the option not to go through the survey or not to answer the survey. And survey is used in gathering data from institutions, from government, and businesses to help in decision making. So, of course, yun ang pinaka-purpose ng survey. No? Bakit ginagawa ang survey? Of course, decision making in change strategies, in improving practices, in analyzing views on choice of products or market research. So sometimes meron tayong mga survey na sinasagutan survey about products, no? So yan, it's related to, the survey is related to choice, analyzing views on choice of products. Of course, sa market research siya. Market research. Okay? Meron din tayong survey sa pag malapit na election, di ba? Although hindi siya part ng research, pero that's an example of a survey. Okay? Next, classification of descriptive research design according to Pulit and Hungles. Ayan, 199 na naman, copy-paste kasi. No? But again, 1999 po yan, ha? Si correlational research design is another classification of descriptive research design. It is used for research studies aimed to determine the existence of a relationship between two or more variables and to determine the degree of relationship. An example of research involving two variables are, of course, quantitative variables are, example, mental ability and grade in math. No? So, pwede siyang correlate yung dalawang variables na mental ability and grades in math. Or, of course, mental ability, ang gagamitin nating variable dyan is yung academic performance. Of course, which is reflected in the grades, no? The grade of the subject or the respondent. And then, i-correlate mo siya sa grade in math. Mental ability is not the grade, I mean. Mental ability siguro, gagamit ka ng isang tool to measure the mental ability. Like, for example, standardized test. no? And then i-correlate mo yung result yung sa mental ability test dun sa grade, no, nung subject. Another is gender and math performance, or gender and performance in any subject for that matter. Or advertising costs and sales, no, i-correlate mo yung cost and then sales or profit, no, expenses versus your profit, no. If you are in the TVL, no, kung TVL ang or pwede rin sa ABM. And then, income and expenses. Parang cost and sales din siya. So, correlational research design is the second classification of descriptive research design. And the third is evaluation research design, which is conducted to elicit useful feedback from a variety of respondents from various fields to aid in decision-making or policy formulation. So, ito naman, medyo in-depth siya compared sa survey. You know? Kasi survey, ginagamit din for decision-making purposes. No? But this evaluation research design naman is in-depth siya. Kumbaga, higher level siya in terms of classification or comparison between survey and evaluation. So, there are also two types of evaluation research design para mas maintindihan natin specifically what are these, what is an evaluation research design. So, formative evaluation is used to determine the quality of implementation of a project, the efficiency and effectiveness of a program, assessment of organizational processes such as procedures, policies, guidelines, human resource development, and the like. No? So, formative, meaning formative evaluation, you are going to determine the quality of meaning while the project is being implemented or the program is being implemented, gagawa ka ng isang formative evaluation research design para malaman mo kung gaano ba ka-effective or ka-efficient ang program na ito or ang process nito or procedure or policy or guidelines, no? So perhaps sa inyong school meron kayong, let's say, project. So if you want to study about its effectiveness and efficiency, then you can do a formative evaluation research design. No? For example, meron kayong reading program. So, gaano ba ka-effective ang implementation ng reading program na ito? So, formative evaluation research design ang gagamitin ninyo. Next, for summative, here are some examples of formative evaluation. One is needs assessment, or when you say needs assessment evaluation, it evaluates the need for the program or project. So, kailangan ba talaga ng program na yan? Ano? Or hindi? Hindi kailangan. So, needs assessment ang gagawin yung formative evaluation. Then we also have process evaluation, the process of implementation of a program. So, ito, ongoing na yung implementation ng program. Needs assessment, hindi pa ginagawa yung or ini-implement yung program. Sa process evaluation naman, yung proseso mismo ng implementation ng programa. No? Kung meron bang problema within the process of implementation, so you will evaluate that program. And then implementation, evaluation, evaluates the efficiency or effectiveness of a project or program. Ito yung overall efficiency or effectiveness of the project or program. So, implementation, evaluation, research design ang gagamitin. And the last one or last example of formative evaluation is program monitoring, performance implementation of an unfinished program. Okay? Ibig sabihin, continuous ang implementation ng programa or project. So, you are going to evaluate. Ang implementation evaluation, maaring ongoing pa yung program or project or tapos na. No? So, gagawa ka ng implementation evaluation. Ang program monitoring evaluation is ongoing ang program or project or unfinished pa. Example, for program monitoring, ang modular learning, or online learning or any program na ina-adapt ng school ninyo, na ongoing ngayong school year or ngayong quarter or semester. So you can do a program monitoring evaluation or any of the examples. Process evaluation, implementation evaluation. So marami tayong pwedeng pagkunan ng source and of course topic if we're going to use these types of formative evaluation. Next type of evaluation research design is a summative evaluation. It is done after the implementation of the program and examines the outcomes, products, or effects of the program. And here are examples. Secondary data analysis. It analyzes or evaluates the existing data for analysis. Existing data, for example, not results, meron ng available na data, and then you will study about the influence of gender and mental ability on the results of the National Achievement Test. So, yun, pwede siya. Meaning, meron ka na available na data. All you have to do is to analyze the available data. Okay? Impact evaluation is the overall effect of the program, in its entirety, of course, overall. For example, you want to determine the effect of remedial classes on the performance of students in mathematics in your school. So, pwede siya sa impact evaluation. And then, outcome evaluation is done to determine if the program has caused useful effects based on target outcomes. So, useful effects based on target outcomes. For example, may want to determine if a leadership training program for officers of student organizations have enhanced the leadership skills of the participants. So, outcome-based or outcome evaluation. Next is cost-effectiveness evaluation, also called cost-benefit evaluation analysis. It compares relative costs to the outcomes or results of some courses of action. For example, you may want to conduct study on the value of money returns of a business. So, let's say, sa inyong community, merong isang startup business, and then gagawa kayo ng research, then pwede niyong gamitin ang cost effectiveness evaluation research design. So, you may want to study the value for money returns brought by an intensive training investment for employees in the sales department for a business company or startup business, for example. Okay? So those are the um, descriptive research designs and their examples. So again, the two classifications of descriptive research designs are formative evaluation and summative evaluation. And each of the two classifications has examples, no examples of researches. Next, let's proceed to the third. So this is the last major category of research design, causal research design, which is used to measure the impact that an independent variable or the causing effect has on another variable or the variable being affected or why certain results are obtained. Example. Example, a restaurant owner may want to find out why she has fewer customers than their neighboring restaurants that resulted in decline in sales. No? So you may want to, or in causal research design, the purpose is to find out the factors that cause changes on another variable. So for example, if it was about the decline in the sales, so the purpose is to know or find out the cause or the factors that cause the decline in the number of customers in the said restaurant, no? Kasi maraming dahilan 'yan bakit nagde-decline ang number of customers, no? Maaring sa customer service or sa product, no? Maraming dahilan. So it's a very interesting study if it's about business and knowing why such factor affects or what really affects such change. Next, we have our last slide. So aside from the discussion earlier of the characteristics of the three main categories, we have here a table which outlines the points of comparison of their characteristics, no? Para mas madaling intindihin at mas madaling tandaan, no? Kung gumamit tayo ng graphic organizer like this table, no? So on the first column, the points of comparison, then you have the second, third, and fourth column, the three major research design categories. So first point of comparison is the research approach. So sa exploratory research, unstructured and flexible siya. Kasi nga, bakit unstructured and flexible? Kasi nga, ano siya, first research study, so medyo hindi ka pa talaga, kulang pa ang related literature mo, ang related studies na pagkukunan mo ng information, ng data. So, flexible ka in the sense na wala ka talagang definite na source of information. Kasi nga, it's a new research, di ba? So, the approach here is flexible. Now, for descriptive research, it's formal and structured. While causal research, it is highly structured. Then, for the degree of problem identification, it is not well defined for exploratory. For descriptive, variables are defined, and the causal research, variables and relationships are defined. And then when to use? When to use an exploratory research? It's an initial research. So, wala talaga siyang sinusundan kasi nga first siya. Hindi mo siya masasabi na follow up siya ng research na ginawa ni ganito sa ganitong context or sa ganitong lugar. Kasi nga, initial research, that's the first research on that particular topic or field. And then descriptive is often a follow-up to exploratory research. So kung meron ka ng exploratory research na basa, na gustuhan mo, and then based on the recommendation, pwede kang gumawa ng descriptive research. And then for causal research, when to use? Late stage of decision making. Decision making of the researcher. Next, goals and objectives. For exploratory research, it provides insights on a problem. And then descriptive, it describes situations. No, describes situations. While causal, the purpose or the objective is to explain the cause and effect relationship between variables. And then sample size, we have for exploratory, small non-representative sample. Pwedeng small non-representative sample, pero pwede rin namang large representative sample. Kasi mas maraming sample, or the larger the sample, the better the results, the more reliable the results. For descriptive, kailangan talaga large representative sample. The same with causal research. Okay? Next, type of hypothesis, research questions only. For descriptive, hypothesis is non-directional, and for causal research, hypothesis is directional. And then data management and measurements. Data may not be statistically measurable. For descriptive research, data are statistically measurable, and causal research data are statistically measurable. Meaning, you will subject your data to statistical treatment. Gagamit ka ng mga formula sa statistics para ma-measure ang data. Na siya namang pagkukunan mo ng yung interpretation of the results. Okay? And that ends our discussion on choosing appropriate research design. And before we move on to our last learning task, let's first try to generalize or have a generalization of what we have learned, or synthesize our learning. No? So you'll just have to complete the statement. Based on the lesson, I realized that choosing appropriate research design is what? Is blank. Okay? And finally, for your assessment, which will be done after our discussion, and of course which will be your application of our learning, the actual application. So you will do, what you will do is to choose the appropriate research design of your own research topic. So from the three major categories of research designs, choose the most appropriate research design, again, based on your research problem and research questions. All right? So again, the three major quantitative research design categories are descriptive, exploratory, descriptive, and causal research design. And again, here is my reference by the book by Prieto, Naval, and Carey, Practical Research to Senior High School, published in 2017 by Lorimal Publishing Incorporated. And with that, I say thank you, maraming salamat, daghang salamat, damo nga salamat. Please tune in or stay tuned for Statistics and Probability by Tutor Reverie. Again, good afternoon, magandang hapon, maayong hapon, maupay nga kulob. See you again next week for our week 2 of quarter 4 Senior High School Practical Research 2.